Please subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss any video from my channel.
Hatkoti, a center of some exquisite religious architecture, not yet developed to its full potential. Located on the banks of the River Pabbar, a tributary of the mighty river Yamuna, Hatkoti is surrounded by fertile fields, and on its outskirts is the Brath region. Scattered in the Brath region are some ancient temples. This is a 7th century Shiva Temple, which is not in worship now. The area around is rich in archaeological remains, but being situated in a secluded corner, splendid monuments like these have received little notice. Standing gracefully tall, this monument is today in a dilapidated state and is crying out for conservation. It is not only the landscape which speaks of the neglect. Several pieces of the temple, integral to its beauty and grandeur, have tumbled down. This architectural piece, showing 3 faces of Lord Shiva, was originally fixed at the facade of the temple, popularly known as Bhadramukh. This huge piece contains stock decorative motifs like beads and tendrils. Among other statues recovered from this ancient site is this figure of Vishnu with Lakshmi, seated on their celestial vehicle, the Garuda. Reflecting the late Pratyahara stage of sculpture, this stone statue must have been carved and installed sometime in the 10th century AD. Another exquisite specimen of religious architecture recovered from this site is this 9th century stone statue of the goddess Parvathy. A fascinating specimen of the Pratyahara school, this well-modeled sculpture is endowed with a grace which is enhanced by its flexed stance. Across a small stream from this ancient temple, this is another Shiva temple located in the same Brath region of the village. The architecture of this temple is considerably different from the earlier specimen. Relatively better preserved, this temple was perhaps built later in the 8th century. It is a concrete reminder of the fact that temple architecture at Hatkoti was being continuously refreshed, perhaps by new influences. On the facade of this temple is the figure of Shiva, shown in a dancing posture. With lifted leg and spread arms, its facial expression is serene. Therefore, this is the divine dance of creation and not the wrathful one of destruction. The figure is about 90 centimeters high and is placed at the middle of the facade, decorated with floral and geometric patterns. The graceful body of Lord Shiva here symbolizes the Akash or the sky, while its 8 arms represent the 8 quarters of the sky. Stylistically, the figure of the dancing god is of the pre-Pratyahara period. Several other motifs of early periods are also seen in this temple. The temple is currently out of the local devotees' favor, and therefore Lord Shiva here lies unattended. Hatkoti is a small village of devout people sustaining themselves through rigorous cultivation of the mountain slopes and valleys, and a modest amount of trade and commerce. Like the other regions of Himachal Pradesh, the people of this village have embodied their highly developed artistry and intense devotion in various forms. A living example of this artistry and devotion is the main temple complex of Hatkoti. Temples in the form of a complex are a fairly common idea in most parts of Himachal Pradesh. The idea is to provide a community of gods to a community of people who live around. It is of course evident that structures like these were also designed to accommodate a large number of devotees at festivals or special ceremonies, and thus facilitate the idea of community worship. Usually, these temples sport more than one door. While the main door leads into the inner sanctum, the side ones are usually decorative in intent, giving the temple the appearance of having multiple faces. A detailed survey of the temple architecture here reveals that, like the neglected temples of the Pratyahara region, these temples were also constructed and decorated sometime between the 7th and 10th century AD. Understandably, the two schools of architecture and sculpture mostly evident here are the Gupta and the Pratyahara schools. A stocky stone base enclosing the inner sanctum here tapers into a conical roof, crowned by a semi-spherical stone top. Various patterns and motifs are carved into the roof and the top to give the feeling of an intensely and intricately carved structure. The most important god for the mountain people is Lord Shiva, perhaps because, an inhabitant of the mountains himself, he best embodies the wrathful and creative aspects of nature. His vehicular form, the bull, devoutly referred to as Nandi by the Hindus, is thus seen outside every temple which houses Lord Shiva. Depicted in a resting though alert posture, this divine courier seems to have been caught in the eternal act of awaiting his master's return from the temple in the imagination of the temple artists. Lord Shiva's immense popularity in the mountains also arises from the fact that he is believed to fulfill the marital wishes of the devotees. A large number of women thus flock his temple in the quest of an ideal match. Inside the main temple complex lie a number of sculptures that have been retrieved from the Pratyahara region. These sculptures have been aptly positioned outside their corresponding temples, which has almost given them a new lease of life and devotion. The presiding deity of this temple complex is the goddess Durga, but a number of other deities are also enshrined in the complex. Out from the Shiva temple and away from the isolated sculptures, we now move into the courtyard, where some important relics and directional passages can be seen. It is from here that the devotee can have a sweeping glimpse of all the temples, until his eyes are arrested by the magnificent temple of goddess Durga, which lies at the center of the complex. It is the protective aspect of goddess Durga which perhaps makes her revered among the mountain people. Inhabiting the wilderness of the mighty Himalayas, the people of Himachal understandably feel threatened by evil spirits and look up to the goddess for protection and care. The region today calls out to us, not only to conserve its rich artistic heritage, but to also remind us that great centers of art and culture are not only where they are today advertised to be, but have been in the hearts of a devout people since time immemorial. Look around me and you will discover fascinating specimens of religious tradition, specimens which will charm you for the rest of your lifetime.
If you like this video, please subscribe my channel and also share with others.